Good morning. Today I'll be reading Psalm 72, 1 through 7. Endow the king with your justice, O God, the royal son with your righteousness. May he judge your people in righteousness, your afflicted ones with justice. May the mountains bring prosperity to the people, and the hills the fruit of righteousness. May he defend the afflicted among the people and save the children of the needy. May he crush the oppressor. May he endure as long as the sun, as long as the moon, through all generations. May he be like rain falling on a mown field, like showers watering the earth. In his days may the righteousness flourish and his prosperity abound till the moon is no more.
We make a lot of jokes about New Year's resolutions and how quickly we break them. But whatever it takes to have us set some goals or to strive to accomplish things and to reach for excellence, that's a good thing. In our church, in your jobs, in each of our lives, we should be working toward doing something tangible that signifies some progress. So go ahead and set some goals for yourself this year, whether it's reading the Bible in a year, what a great goal, or losing 20 pounds, or inviting 10 people to church. Those are great things to do. The worst you can do is to not reach the goals. Even if you fail at reaching the goal, you probably will still accomplish things that you never would have if you had not set those goals and made those resolutions. But as we do that, we need occasional reminders, like we get from today's text, that individual accomplishment, the achieving of specific goals, that isn't enough. We need to strive to build certain character qualities into our lives. And the attainment of these qualities is not as easily measured as some of the goals that we might set for ourselves, like losing weight or adding to our income or adding new members to the church. Now, those are things that we can say that we accomplished, or we accomplished part way, or that we didn't at all. You either make your goal or you fall short. But character qualities are much more important, and they're a lot less tangible. You can't always know whether you accomplished the goal. Now, some days you might feel that you did, and other days you know you haven't. But these are really the kinds of goals that we should be striving for. We should be trying to grow as Christians and to develop maturity in our spiritual lives. And so as we work toward that area, it is that which will make us the people and the church that God has called us to be. So to sum up these character qualities, we might just use the word responsibility. One thing that we can say for sure about what God wants for us is that He wants us to be responsible. Now, we all have responsibility in some areas of our lives. Parents, you're responsible for your kids, aren't you? Employers, you are responsible for your workers. Employees, you're responsible for your own work. Students, you're responsible for your grades. Church members, you are responsible for doing the Lord's work. The list could go on and on. Ultimately, all of us have responsibility for our own lives. And so in order for us to be responsible people, we must attain certain qualities. Well, today's passage reveals what some of these qualities are. And as we journey into this new year, and we're trying to accomplish some goals that we may have set for ourselves, I want us to consider these key qualities mentioned in Psalm 72 and challenge you to make these qualities your main goal for this new year. And if you do, you might find even that you are better equipped to achieve some of the more tangible goals that you may have set. Psalm 72 is one of the few psalms that was not written by David. This one was written by his son Solomon. In this psalm, Solomon asked God to endow the king with certain qualities so that he might be a more effective and responsible leader. And Solomon's prayer can be our prayer as well. So let's look at three qualities that we need to develop in order to take responsibility in our lives. The first quality is that of uncompromising integrity. Solomon said in verse 1, "Endow the king with your justice, O God, the royal son with your righteousness. He will judge your people in righteousness, your afflicted ones with justice." So simply put, Solomon is saying, make me good so that I can be good to others. A basic principle of responsibility is that you cannot give to others what you do not have yourself. You can't lead with righteousness unless you are righteous. You can't influence others to be holy unless you yourself are holy. Now, frankly, this is why so many parents have difficulty with their children. Parenting is not an easy task. If you don't have integrity, it's impossible to be a good parent. Your hypocrisies and your inconsistencies will turn around and bite you one day. When your kids are little, you can kind of hide your faults, or you can fool your kids into thinking they don't see what they really see. But when they get older, you can't do that anymore. When kids get so old, and especially by the time they're teenagers, they figure out that you're not perfect. They can see that you make mistakes. You hid it for them for as long as you could, but the secret gets out. They can see that your decisions are not always the right ones. They can tell that you might react too quickly sometimes or too slowly at other times. That's when it's all the more important that in carrying out your responsibility, even when you make mistakes, that you carry yourself with uncompromising integrity. Some of you older folks might remember Bubba Smith, the football player. He played back when athletes made only a moderate amount of money, not the millions that they make today. So after his retirement, he needed to supplement his income with endorsements. And his most lucrative endorsement contract was with Miller Lite Beer. He made lots of money doing their commercials. But eventually, it became impossible for him to ignore the influence that he was having on the lives of others. Often when he went out in public, he would be surrounded by people shouting, "Tastes great, less filling." You remember those old commercials? And he would go to events that were sponsored by Miller Beer, and he would see young people staggering around in a drunken stupor. And he realized that he was contributing to their behavior. And so he canceled his contract, and he stopped doing the commercials, even though it hurt him financially. He said this, "Kids listen to things you say, so you want to tell them something that is the truth. As the years wear on, you stop compromising your principles." Well, good for Bubba. He learned that. But the fact is, you don't have to wait for the years to wear on. You can stop compromising your principles today and start building a life of integrity. It doesn't mean you don't make mistakes. In fact, the more responsibility you have, the more likely it is that you're going to make more mistakes. Being responsible doesn't mean that you never mess up. It does mean that when you do mess up, that you own up to it and you do what you can to correct your mistakes. And when you have to deal with other areas of your responsibility, you can then do so with integrity, with righteousness and justice. It's not because you're perfect or you want everybody to think you're perfect, but because you're looking to the Lord for that standard of perfection. And you're not going to back down from that because you've been caught in a shortcoming. God's still perfect and his standards are still perfect. And so if having integrity means that you might not reach your goals in the time that you wanted to, or you might have to adjust your goals, then so be it. If you can only accomplish your goals by stomping on other people and being ruthless and uncaring, then that takes a lot away from whatever it is that you were trying to accomplish. It's much better to achieve what you achieve with responsibility and with integrity. So let that be one of your ideals and your goals. That leads to the next quality, which should be a goal for all of us. Solomon mentions what I will call fierce compassion. Listen to his words in verse 4. It says, "He will defend the afflicted among the people and save the children of the needy. He will crush the oppressor." Compassion is often misunderstood as being an emotion that you feel rather than an action that you take. We think compassion is just simply weeping with those who weep. But there's a lot more to it than that. We need to defend those who weep. We need to help them in every way we can. And we need to find out who or what is causing them to weep and put a stop to it. Now, most people don't associate compassion with words like defend or save or phrases like crush the oppressor. But that's what compassion involves. In order to truly be compassionate, you have to be willing to fight some battles. You have to be willing to crush the oppressor. I know whenever you have a war, you have controversy, you have lots of differences of opinions. But in the case of many wars, whether it be Israel and Hamas, or whether our country has had wars with people like Nazi Germany or Al-Qaeda or Taliban, the basis for military actions has actually been that of compassion. compassion for victims of terrorist attacks or unprovoked attacks, compassion for the innocent victims of potential future attacks, compassion for civilian citizens of countries that have been oppressed by evil regimes. And though actions against those oppressors have been very fierce, still those actions have been motivated by compassion for the innocent. That's true compassion. That's fierce compassion. Of course, there are many other ways that we can demonstrate this fierce compassion besides our country going to fight in a righteous war. Many years ago, there was a real estate agent named Oral Lee Brown who made a promise to a class full of first graders in a rundown Oakland school. She said, "If you stay in school, I'll see you through college." Now, she was not extremely wealthy. This is back in the 80s, and her income was only about $50,000, which wasn't bad then, but not a whole lot. But she knew that these children were not living in an environment that fostered any opportunity, and they desperately needed somebody to stand up for them. And so she did that. She stood up. And 12 years later, she made good on her promise, sending 19 students off to the college of their choice. That's compassion. That's fierce compassion. Defending the defenseless, crushing the oppressor, saving the children of the needy. Now, most of us may not be in any kind of position to finance a college education for a poor neighborhood, but we can copy that example of caring enough about the helpless and the defenseless to actually do something about it. So you can do what you can to make sure that your neighborhood kids have a way to Sunday school if they want to go, or to Awana, and maybe their parents won't take them. Students, you can stick up for the kid at school who is always being ridiculed and picked on. You all know who they are. Hope you're not one of them, but if you are, that you want somebody to stand up and stick up for you. Employers, you can give an opportunity to those who were not able to attain education or experience, but who are willing to learn, or for those who are disabled, but who are willing to work. And church members, you can look around each week for those who may not have as many friends as you do, and be a friend to those who are looking for a connection to other people. See, compassion needs to be one of the key words in our attempt to be responsible people. That's the kind of compassion that motivates us to take action on behalf of others. It's a fierce compassion, not just a feeling of pity for others, but a determination to do whatever it is that would be of help to them. That's what responsible people do. And then thirdly, we need to develop enthusiastic endurance. Solomon said in verse 5, "He will endure as long as the sun, as long as the moon, through all generations." And in verse 7 he says, "In his days the righteous will flourish. Prosperity will abound till the moon is no more." So when it comes to having success in life, here's a principle that you can count on. The longer it takes to attain it, the longer you'll retain it. Let me say that again. The longer it takes to attain it, the longer you'll retain it. See, overnight successes often become overnight failures. There are many examples of singing groups or movie stars who were extremely successful for a time, and everybody thought that they would be stars for the rest of their life. But if I were to mention their names now, the response of most people would be, "Who is that?" The real stars are the ones who have endured over a long period of time. Anybody can be a flash in the pan, but it takes enduring power to last. Endurance is a key ingredient to be a person of character. Many people are a flash in the pan spiritually. The way they start off, you think they're going to be greatly used of God for the rest of their lives, but they just don't seem to have that enduring power. The key to responsibility is endurance, staying with the task as long as it takes. Success may not always come easily, but it comes eventually to those who endure, even if it's not the success that we dreamed it would be or thought it should be. I read recently about a pastor in Norman, Oklahoma, who had been at his church for more than 20 years. And from the very start, he worked hard, but he had more than his share of setbacks, and success did not come easily. On his 5th anniversary with the church, his attendance was no better than when it started. Actually, it was less, and they were struggling financially. 10 years later, the numbers hadn't changed all that much either, but the pastor was still plugging away. Well, today, the church's average weekly attendance is over 1,000, and they're beginning to experience success largely because their pastors and their leaders were committed to the concept of endurance. I know it doesn't always work out that way, but that was a real encouragement to me, because to know that Sometimes the key to success is simply endurance, just sticking with it no matter what. I know how hard it can be to stick with something when you don't seem to be making any progress. And yes, it could be that God would have you to move on and try something else, but most people are far too quick to jump to that conclusion when it might just take hanging in there, not grudgingly or reluctantly, but enthusiastically, enjoying the journey as much as reaching the destination. Life's a journey. Enjoy it. Don't worry about whether you get there or to the end or not. Just enjoy the journey. Most of you have heard of Max Lucado. We saw a lot of his videos with Right Now Media. He has sold millions and millions of books in recent years, but did you know his first book never got published? In fact, it was rejected by 15 publishers. But Max Lucado kept writing, and today, of course, he's one of the most top-selling Christian authors and most well-known Christian personalities. Do you want to make a difference in people's lives? A difference that lasts for years and years to come? Well, then make endurance one of the key words of your life. Whether it's your marriage you're talking about, or working with your children, or with your aging parents, or in school, or in the Lord's work in the church, make a commitment to keep at it as long as you can. I like what Solomon says in verse 6. It says, he will be like rain falling on a mown field, like showers watering the earth. That's the effect that we should want to have on people in our lives. We should want to be as refreshing to them as a summer shower, to inspire them, to encourage them, to challenge them to succeed in life, in their marriage, in their family lives, in their jobs, in their relationship to God. And that's staying power. That's what enthusiastic endurance is. So 3 key words for today: integrity, compassion, and endurance. As we journey into this new year, let's strive to make these words a description of ourselves. Strive through the help of God for integrity, to do what's right, and so that you can do what's right for others. And be fierce in your compassion. Stand up for the defenseless, for those that everybody else makes fun of or nobody else pays attention to. And fight the battles that need to be fought. And most of all, stay with it for as long as it takes. Endure to the point where you've done all that you can do. What a great motivation for the beginning of a new year. Integrity, compassion, and endurance. If there's anyone who would like to join with us in our attempt to implement all these things in our life as a church by accepting Christ as your Savior or by becoming a member of the church, we're going to give you an opportunity to express that desire and that decision.